Good morning and welcome back to our Teachings of Jesus series. This is Sherry. Look who joined me. Look who wants to join us. This is Willa, and I think she's going to be good. At first I was going to put her up in her room or something so she wouldn't bother my videos, but then she starts barking and yipping and wants out. Okay, if you have the book, we're in He Called 56 Daily Studies and Reflections with the Words of Christ. And we are skipping ahead today to day 8. I'm going to read our passage for today. It's Mark 2, 18 through 21. Now John's disciples and the Pharisees were fasting. Okay, and I want to make a point here that their choice to fast was a tradition. But they were fasting at this time. It was not actually in the Torah, in the law, that they had to fast at this time, or they were being instructed to fast. It was a tradition that they did. Now John's disciples and the Pharisees were fasting, and people came and said to him, they're saying to Jesus, "Why do John's disciples and the disciples of the Pharisees fast, but your disciples do not fast?" And Jesus said to them, "Can the wedding guests fast while the bridegroom is with them? As long as they have the bridegroom with them, they cannot fast. The days will come when the bridegroom is taken away from them, and they will fast on that day." In my research for this passage, I learned quite a bit about Jewish wedding feasts during the time of Christ. And what happened when a Jewish couple got married, they didn't leave and go off on a fancy honeymoon like we do today. They stayed at home. They had a big event at home, and they kept an open house where everyone could come, all their friends and their closest friends of the bride and the groom could come. Open house throughout a whole week, and there were just feasting laid out, and there was a kind of a rule or a tradition that during that week, if it was a regular fasting day or a fasting time, they didn't have to fast. They were exempt from fasting during this wedding week. The bride and the groom, and then all their family and their close friends, anyone who was participating in the celebration. So when Jesus was responding to this criticism that he and his disciples weren't fasting while the Pharisees and John's disciples were, this was a very special time, and him and the disciples being together was a time to celebrate. The fact that God had come near is a time to celebrate, and that they would be exempt from fasting. And like I said before, this was not a rule or one of the laws under Moses. This was just a tradition. So when I was reading this passage and wondering how could this apply to me, I thought of it in the context of us with our Christian friends and with our Christian family members. And how often do we, maybe we don't speak it, but how often do we have critical thoughts and critical hearts and grudges against our own Christian friends and family members? Friends, as this world gets crazier and crazier, and we're just seeing more evil abound and throughout, I think we need to recognize that the gift of Christian friends, or if you have Christian family members, that is something to cherish and to celebrate. And I do think there is an issue, and it's a heart issue in all of us. And maybe I'm the only one that struggles with this, but I don't think so. Are we passing judgment on other people just because they're not following a tradition, or they're not following something that we expect? But Jesus recognized that when he was with his disciples and when we are with other followers of Christ, that is a time to cherish and to celebrate. It is not a time to bring in petty grudges or judgments or traditions over petty little things like, why aren't you fasting today? We do this in our families too, when one family member can't make an event. Can't believe she's not coming. After reading the passage today about how Jesus overlooked tradition for the sake of cherishing relationships with his disciples, and there's many, many other instances. I think you know there's many, many other instances in the Bible where Jesus taught that relationships, the relationship with him and our relationship with other Christians should supersede all these little traditions. But let's search our heart today. I really am going to ask you to, the challenge for today or the instruction for today is to really think about your habits and your feelings and your thoughts. Not how you're treating everyone. How do you... There she goes. I'll try to edit that out. Are there any Christian brothers or sisters in your life that you're silently judging as being less committed than you are? Or maybe you're judging them the other way. Maybe they're stepping out more than you and you're thinking, oh, well, how holy are they? Why are they doing that? Who do they think they are? It goes both ways. Any family members, whether they're Christian family members, who you're holding a grudge of or a disagreement over about how things should be done, maybe, just maybe, we also tend to act like the religious leaders in this story. Maybe we're spending time judging other Christians in our life when instead we should be appreciating them and finding ways to grow together spiritually with them. So in this passage in Mark 2, starting in Mark 18, Jesus indicates that appreciation for others during time together is more important than following outside rules, rituals, and traditions. So when you're with your Bible study group or with other Christian friends or with your family, if you were lucky enough to have a Christian family, just celebrate that. And I truly believe, in fact, I don't just believe, I know from my own experience, that these little grudges and grievances, they block, if that's appropriate to say, they can block your own walk with Christ and your own ability to get closer to him. So I recommend that every day, I do this every day, okay? I'm just being open here. This is something that I think I'm getting better at, but I used to struggle with a lot. Not on the outward, no one would ever know by looking at my smiling face, but in my mind, I would do this. Just little judges and slights. And it's very hurtful, whether to yourself, if not to the other person. And so I just ask that we pray this prayer and that you start, if this is something that you struggle with too, that you start praying this prayer as well. God, search me. I want you to bring to mind the grudges and just the little bits of bitterness that are in my heart. Bring those to mind. And then when they start coming to mind, I just say, God, I give this to you. I want you to pull this bitterness out of me. I know it's your will for me not to be bitter. Pull the bitterness I'm holding against this person or this person. Pull it out of me. I do not want that in there. I don't want to be like that. And if that's something that you struggle with, I encourage you to pray that every single day until the bitterness can't even take root anymore. And with that, I'm going to leave. Enjoy your day. Next video goes up in 2 days. Bye for now.